Hello students, today I will explain about fertilization. How do fertilization occur? And what is fertilization? Before that, certain events are there before fertilization. So there are entire reproductive system can be divided into pre-fertilization event and post-fertilization events. Now pre-fertilization events will be such as gametogenesis, insemination, okay, and agglutination like that, different capacitation. All these are the events that are occurring before the fertilization. Out of that, the main one is the gametogenesis. So other, which are the other events before fertilization takes place? So I'll be explaining about those events. So here, in the female reproductive system, so in the female reproductive system, what phenomena occurs first is insemination. What phenomena? Insemination means what? This is the process where the sperms are released into the vagina of female, occurring during a phenomena called coitus. Okay, so release of sperms release of sperms release of sperms in the vagina of female during coitus. Coitus is called as, is also called copulation or coitus, is called as insemination. So the release of sperm occurs in the vagina. Here, let me draw even the uterine part. So this is the vagina. This is the vagina, cervix, uterus, fallopian tube, ovary, and the ligament. However, this part is almost the same, so I'm going to show it only on the one side of the reproductive system, since the other is symmetric. So, release of sperms into vagina of the female. When the sperms are released here in the vagina of female, this phenomena itself is called as insemination. Okay, this insemination process is a natural process, whereas if the word AI comes, that is artificial insemination, then it is an artificial process which makes use of instrument for insemination. That means sperms are released here in the vagina so that they will come in front of the cervix. Okay, so this phenomena is called as insemination. Will the sperms survive? See what happens, sperm lifespan inside the male reproductive system is more, so it can survive. See, for entire process of uh, growth and multiplication and maturation, then physiological maturation, all that, spermatogenesis process itself takes 74 days. Okay, then what happens, it has to survive in the fluids of the male reproductive system, so it can survive for a longer time. But once the sperm is shed out, its lifespan is very short. Okay. And once it is shed out, once released outside, it can only survive for 24 to 48 hours. So it's around 24 to 48 hours. So it can survive within this particular time. So here also you should know the difference between the ejaculation and insemination. Ejaculation and insemination. What will be the difference here? So ejaculation is when the sperms are released from the male reproductive system, where released outside itself is called ejaculation. But if ejaculation will occur inside the female reproductive tract, that is the vagina, then it's called as insemination. Ejaculation is mere release of sperm outside the male reproductive system. Okay, so that is what is about the insemination process. So first, what was explained here is insemination. Insemination process. Okay. Then once they are inseminated, the sperms will be released from this side slowly so that they will ascend to the cervix. Okay, this is the cervix. And then they will ascend to the uterus, and then they will reach to the fallopian tube, also called oviduct. It is also called as oviduct. So the sperms released will reach, this is how the path of the sperm is. And in fallopian tube, you'll know that there is isthmus, then there is here ampulla, the broad part. For example, here this is broad part ampulla, funnel shaped infundibulum, and this is going to be the fimbriae. And this will be ampullary isthmus junction. Ampullary isthmus. Sperms will ascend from the vagina and they reach the cervix, reach the uterus, and then reach fallopian tube. First to the isthmus, then the ampullary isthmus junction and ampullary region. Majority of fertilizations occur in the ampullary region. Now comes the word fertilization. I'll explain what the word fertilization is. So majority of the fertilization occurs in ampullary region. Majority of fertilization occur in ampullary region, whereas some fertilizations still continue even in ampullary isthmus junction. Ampullary isthmus junction. Ampullary isthmus junction also occurs. But you should know this is important. Majority of fertilization occur in ampullary isthmus junction. Understand? Now, what happens? What is fertilization? I'll give an introduction and then start with those phenomena that are occurring after the insemination. So first definition was about insemination. Now fertilization means what? First of all, fertilization is fusion of sperm and ovum. Fusion of sperm and ovum is called fertilization. So sperm and ovum will fuse, means that phenomena is called fertilization. You know that ovum is a very quite bigger cell, and the sperm is supposed to be very small in size. Now in the sperm, for convenience, I'll draw sperm a little bit bigger here. So suppose this is the sperm. that is fusing with the ovum. This fusion itself is called fertilization. Okay, is fertilization. Fertilization. So sperm inside has nucleus, and one more important structure is the proximal centriole. These two main structures has to enter the ovum during fertilization. So other structures are not important. So what structure should enter is the nucleus as well as the proximal centriole. So when fusion occurs, so when fertilization is going to occur, then the nucleus of the sperm is going to enter into the nucleus of the ovum, along with what was the structure? Proximal centriole. So these two are essential components that should enter during fertilization. So here what happens? Therefore comes the definition. And of course, you all know that the sperm is haploid and ovum also is haploid. So you can define it one step further, that is fusion of haploid sperms with the fusion of haploid ovum is called as fertilization. So that becomes the definition of fertilization. And as I told, majority of fertilization is going to occur in ampullary region of which tube? This is the fallopian tube. This is the uterus, which is also called womb, cervix, and the vagina. So here in the fallopian tube, the broad region that will come after the infundibulum, this is the region where the sperm is going to fuse with the ovum. Okay, and some fusion can occur here next part, that is ampullary isthmus junction, and very narrow part will be isthmus junction. Okay, so this was the description, or you can tell the definition of fertilization. Then I'll continue with those phenomena that occur after insemination. Okay, so now once those sperms are inseminated, they are having, you know, that sperms are motile. It means they have ability to move because of presence of tail. So they move from the site of insemination, they will ascend. Ascend means move up. So these sperms are going to move through the, so all these sperms. So single ejaculate can have 300 up to maximum of 300 million sperms. So that is going to be those millions of sperms when they are released, they start ascending here. Okay, ascending or moving up, first the cervix and then to the uterus. So one more phenomena occurs here, like how are the sperm able to move? Okay, so they move to the uterus. Then what happens in the uterus? The next phenomena happens in the uterus. Okay, so what all occurs I will tell, and then I will tell what other thing, what are the other changes, what is the next phenomena. Okay, when these sperms move, all of them will not survive till they reach the fallopian tube. So most of them are dead. First of all, suppose if it is, sperms are generally motile owing to presence of tail, they are generally motile. Okay, if the sperms will ascend because of the, their features, that is sperms ascend due to ascend due to ascend because sperms are motile. Now what if the sperm is non-motile, or if it is a dead sperm already? So they are phagocytized here, or these dead cells are phagocytized by certain cells present in the uterus. They are called phagocytes, and the phenomena is called as phagocytosis. So, like dead sperms, or say even non-motile sperms, okay, and even the other normal sperms also, other sperms also, which are not able, those sperms that are not able to escape the uterus and reach fallopian tube, those who remain here itself, they are all engulfed by phagocytosis. It means that out of millions of sperms that are entering uterus, only few will survive, that is, few hundreds of them will survive in the fallopian tube. So, remaining all millions of sperms are going to die in the uterus. Why they are going to die? Because they are engulfed. Okay, engulfed means they are taken in by other cells that can eat the cells that can engulf or take the other cells inside. That is called engulfing. Okay, so there is a bigger cell feeding upon the other cells. Suppose if this cell feeds upon the other cells, then these cells are called phagocytes. So they are engulfed by phagocytes. They are engulfed by phagocytes. So phagocytes are cells that will eat the other cells, you can tell, eat or engulf other cells. It can be dead cell, non-motile cells, and those sperms that will not make their way to this fallopian tube. Okay. So therefore, by the process of, what is the process of engulfing called? The process of engulfing is called as phagocytosis. Phagocytosis. Process of engulfing is called as phagocytosis. So this was about the what happens when the sperm will move. Why they move? Because they are motile. Okay. There are other factors that will sustain its motility. They are okay. So during their movement towards this fallopian tube, what happens? Majority of them are going to die by the phenomena called phagocytosis. Then when the, see here, when the sperms are released in vagina, vagina is acidic. Vagina is acidic. So it cannot survive in the acidic medium, but the pH of semen is slightly alkaline, because of which it provides protection against the acidic medium in the vagina. But as they move inside the uterus, the acidic medium is not there. So as a result, it will survive. It will help to activate the sperms. So acidic medium is not good for the sperms. On the contrary, an alkaline medium would be good. Sperms are motile because they have tail. That you all know. They're flagellated. They have tail, so they are able to move. So as the sperms move up or ascend, they are engulfed. At the same time, how is that their motility is supported? Okay, their motility is also supported by contraction of smooth muscles in the uterus. So mobility or motility sustained, that means the sperm's movement is sustained by smooth muscle contraction of uterus. So how come the smooth muscles will contract and relax here? It depends on a chemical that is present in the semen. The chemical present in the semen is prostaglandins. This prostaglandins cause smooth muscle contraction. Okay. So as a result, semen already has prostaglandins. So as the sperms move, as the chemical diffuse, it will cause the contractions of the smooth muscle of uterus. Now, direction of contraction of smooth muscles of the uterus is from cervix to fundic region. Cervix to fundic direction, there will be slow wavy movement contraction of the uterus. So it will direction is from cervix to uterus. Therefore, it sustains the movement of the sperms. Now, between two contractions, there is a kind of not the and support its further ascendance towards the what do you call the fallopian tube, further moving up into the fallopian tube. Okay, so this is about the supporting structures that will help it. First one is the sperm itself is motile, and the second is due to smooth muscles. First is motility of the sperm, and second is due to smooth muscles. And why do the smooth muscle contract? Is because of presence of the prostaglandins in the semen. So that is how the what is called the sperms will move. Okay. Then once the sperm ascends in the uterus, it gets activated. Then comes the next phenomena, capacitation. Now, what is capacitation? Is nothing but physiological activation of sperm in the female reproductive tract is called as capacitation. The next phenomena called capacitation. Next phenomena is called. So first what occurred is insemination. So after insemination comes the capacitation. Now what is capacitation? Physiological activation of sperms. So capacitation is the sperms which are just released do not have, they are not competent enough or they are not capable of fertilizing the ovum unless what occurs is capacitation occurs. Capacitation is making the sperm competent enough to fertilize the ovum. In case capacitation will not occur, it will not be able to fuse with the ovum properly. As a result, capacitation is necessary and it gets ability to fertilize the ovum. So the definition is it is the physiological activation. So functional changes occur. Okay, even though sperm has capacity to fertilize during its maturation itself, but it becomes competent enough only in the by phenomena occurring in the female reproductive tract. So certain points regarding capacitation. So capacitation occurs in female reproductive tract. That is the first point noted. because female reproductive tract liquids or fluids that are present here, they have substances that will lead to capacitation, that will activate the sperms or capacitate the sperms. Okay. First of all, you should know fundamental ability to fertilize will always be gained in the male reproductive tract in caput epidermis, where physiological maturation occurs there. But further making those uh, sperms further competent enough, it should be in, okay. Suppose the physiological maturation do not occur in epididymis, only capacitation may not uh, be enough for sperm to fertilize the ovum. So this occurs in the female reproductive tract. Okay. Now what happens is sperm will gain the ability to fertilize. Sperm gains ability to fertilize. Sperm will gain the ability to fertilize. It means it is competent enough to fertilize the, making the sperms competent enough to fertilize the ovum. Okay. So if capacitation occurs here, then what happens is sperm can successfully fertilize the ovum. Otherwise, fertilization is not going to occur. So that is the importance of fertilization. Okay. Now, what changes occur? It is not a morphological maturation. Morphological maturation occurs in spermiogenesis. This is mainly a physiological maturation. Where all changes occur is in the head region, and changes occur in the head region as well as, of course, in the tail region. Changes involve head and tail. Changes involve head and tail. Now, what changes involve in the head region of the sperm during capacitation? So, during capacitation, for example, this is the sperm, okay, and this is the middle piece and the tail, okay, and this is the acrosome present in the sperm. Now, the membrane here, the membrane, plasma membrane of the sperms have many factors that will inactivate it or that will not allow it to become competent, and that type of factors are called decapacitation factors. So the membrane in the head region is going to have many component substances that will not allow it to activate, okay, or that will not allow it to capacitate. Okay, those substances are called as decapacitation factor. As the name indicates, they will not allow the sperm. D means not allowing the sperm to get capacitated. These factors will be present in the membrane, the head region of sperm. So changes therefore involve in the head region. That means decapacitation factor should be removed to make the sperm active or to make it capacitate. So what should be done here? Therefore, have to be removed. Okay, so decapacitation factors has to be removed before uh, it will get activated, before it will gain the ability or competency to fertilize the ovum. Okay, so now if decapacitation factors are removed, think about now, decapacitation factors are removed. So I shall draw it here. Suppose this is the head of the sperm, middle piece, and of course the tail. Okay. Now this will be a acrosome and decapacitation factors like example cholesterol is a fat substance. Okay, fat deposition will be there in the head, so that has to be cleared off before it becomes active. One of the example of that fat substance is cholesterol. Okay, so one of the example being cholesterol. The second decapacitation factor, also known as the adhesion molecules, which were there right at the time when in the male reproductive system when the sperms were attached to Sertoli cell, they also remain here, and even certain glycoproteins remain to be attached in the head. Now one is say fats. So next will be, what is that? Glycoproteins and other substances are decapacitated. Okay, you have already studied in say botany or so while studying the structure of lipid bilayer that cholesterol is one of the important component of the cell membrane. Now when cholesterol is removed, the cell membrane becomes thin, very thin enough, and therefore it is easily susceptible for destabilization. Okay, it can easily dissolve and fuse quickly with the neighboring membrane. So therefore they have to be removed. So during capacitation, what happens is during capacitation, these substances are removed. These substances are removed. So now once the substances are removed, the sperm are getting capacitated. Okay, it is an uncapacitated sperm, but this is a capacitated sperm. So therefore, capacitation involves a removal of decapacitation factor, first point. Understand? Now second is motility. Second is motility. The second event that is occurring during capacitation is motility of the sperm becomes very fast. So the energy released by the sperm is utilized by the tail, and the tail will move very fast. So what happens? Motility increases. Motility increases. Why the motility increases? It is because of see, initially when sperm is formed, so the tail will have wavy movement, very slow wavy movement, but in the female reproductive tract the tail will be beating very fast, like a whiplash movement of the tail will be there, because of which sperm's speed is going to increase and it will move very fast. So motility increases due to what? Whiplash movement of tail. Due to whiplash movement of, so due to whiplash movement of a tail, what happens is there is a change in the tail region. It means that, excuse me, the 3 mm per, so speed reaches 3 mm per. That is the possible, because sperm is a very small cell, so that is how it will move. Okay. Excuse me, make a correction there. So that's what was the speed of the sperm. So capacitation involves these two changes in the head of the sperm as well as changes in the tail of the sperm. then what happens? Capacitated sperm are going to reach where? The fallopian tube. So these were there is no morphological changes. And for fast movement of the tail, calcium is an important ion. So intracellular calcium should increase. Okay, now. So sperm got inseminated, it will ascend into cervix and then it will go to what is called the uterus, and then it is going to reach to the fallopian tube. Okay. So what happens? Finally, it is going to reach to the fallopian tube. Got? So next will be what is next what happens is the sperms once it reaches to fallopian tube, it is to be so simultaneously when the sperm is there in the fallopian tube, the ovum also should be released and it should be collected here in the fallopian tube. So ovum should be collected in the fallopian tube. Now, what is important is the sperm which has reached to fallopian tube should meet the ovum in the ampullary region only. That too simultaneously they should reach. Only then there will be successful fertilization or pregnancy. And because they don't meet simultaneously, majority of that is the reason why all the coitus may not lead to fertilization and pregnancy. That is the reason why all the coitus may not lead to fertilization or pregnancy. A reason for this particular statement. So the reason is for the sperm to get successfully fertilized with the ovum, it should meet simultaneously with the ovum in ampullary region only. So that word simultaneous is very important. Okay. So sperm should, you can tell, should meet the ovum simultaneously in ampullary region, which is the majority in the ampullary region. So that will be the reason for this. All the coitus may not lead to fertilization or pregnancy, and the reason is sperm should meet the ovum simultaneously. This is a very important point to be noted. Okay, so simultaneously they should meet the ovum. It means that the sperm should be present here in ampullary region, and ovum should also be present in which region? Ampullary region. Understand? And ovum will be released outside the ovary by a phenomena called ovulation. Okay, in a secondary oocyte stage it will be. And it is collected by fallopian tube. Now, fallopian tube has ciliated epithelium, ciliated columnar epithelium it has. See, ovum is non-motile, so they meet simultaneously. But then how come ovum moves? So here, ovum is non-motile. Ovum is non-motile. Then how come ovum moves in Then how come ovum moves in fallopian tube to meet simultaneously with the sperm in which region? Ampullary region, where majority of fertilization occur. So ovum is non-motile, so therefore its movement is aided by or helped by ciliated columnar epithelium. Ciliated columnar epithelium. So ovum is non-motile and it is ovum is a non-motile ciliated columnar epithelium. So here next, second is smooth muscles of fallopian tube. It means that these smooth muscles of fallopian tube, they also contract such that they can support this movement or they can sustain the movement of ovum along with ciliated columnar epithelium. So this cilia that moves will be ciliary action, you can tell. The cilia present in this epithelium shows which movement? Ciliary movement. That means beating of cilia occurs, ciliary movement occurs. Because of that ciliary movement, the ovum is able to reach to the fallopian tube. Okay, so that is how the ovum and the sperm simultaneously meet to result in fertilization, successful fertilization. So now, how will sperm recognize the ovum? So this is fallopian tube. So here sperm is going to recognize the ovum. That means how it will bind to the ovum, or it will not recognize the ovum and continue to move. That is not possible. Sperm is able to recognize the ovum. That means recognition of sperm as well as ovum is species specific. It means that uh, depends on one species can fertilization of sperms of one species cannot occur with the another because of specific reactions like fertilization and anti-fertilization reactions. Sperm have anti-fertilization, a chemical, and ovum has fertilization. So binding occurs between them, because of which sperm is able to recognize the ovum. Okay, so that is the fertilization and anti-fertilization reaction. Now next, after capacitation comes the phenomena called fertilization, whose definition I have explained. The next phenomena was fertilization. Next phenomena is fertilization. Understand? So this was about now coming to definition. Definition of fertilization is already over. So fertilization can also be called syngamy or fusion of gametes. Now, how do fertilization occur? For fertilization to occur, there are some membranes coming on the way. Those membranes has to be crossed before releasing its nucleus and what is called the proximal centriole, which two are important components. They before releasing that into the ovum. Now, consider this as yesterday I have taught about the structure of ovum, which is necessary to understand the phenomena of fertilization. So consider this is zona pellucida. And just below the zona pellucida will be the plasma membrane. And that gap between plasma membrane of ovum, this is basically what? This is nothing but the ovum. So the space between the plasma membrane and the zona pellucida, that is called perivitelline space. And on the outside are corona radiata cells. On the outside will be nucleated corona radiata cells, which have been like this. Okay, cells are going to be like this, complete cells. It is not a sensation. Each cell is independent here, so it should not give an impression. I mean, it should not be a sensation. Each cell will be independent here. Okay, it is basically a follicular cell in the past. I mean, in the previous stages, it will be a follicle. Now, what happens here? This is the ovum. And how many sperms can bind to the ovum? More than one sperm can bind to the ovum, but in that, only one will successfully fertilize the ovum. Okay. So consider this is a sperm, this is one sperm, and this is the second sperm, like that. So only a few hundred of them will make the way. So in that, few of them are binding to the ovum. So when it comes to binding, many sperms can approach the ovum, but out of that, only one is supposed to fertilize. And suppose this one fertilizes the ovum, then the ovum will not allow other sperms to fertilize. It means only one sperm will fertilize the ovum. In case more than one sperm will fertilize, that means it will result in a condition called polyspermy. This will result in polyspermy. So what's polyspermy? If the ovum is fertilized by more than one sperm, the condition is called as polyspermy. Suppose these two sperms will fertilize the ovum. If at all such polyspermy occurs, such zygotes usually will not survive. So here, fertilization of ovum by more than one sperm is called as polyspermy. But there are reactions that are occurring during fertilization. They can prevent polyspermy. So I am going to explain about what all events occur during fertilization. Now consider that this is the sperm that is going to fertilize the ovum. And remaining also are binding, but only one will fertilize. If more than one will fertilize, it's an abnormality. It's a condition called polyspermy. Okay. Polyspermy is prevented by, say, slow block as well as fast block that is occurring during fertilization. Okay, first step. Here, first step, the sperm here will have acrosome. Remember, when it was passing through the uterus, it underwent capacitation. And during capacitation, since cholesterol and all are removed, the membrane of the acrosome as well as the plasma membrane becomes very thin and they can destabilize very quickly. As a result, fusion can occur. The membrane of the acrosome as well as the plasma membrane of the sperm can fuse. How is that? Suppose this is the head of the sperm and say this is the acrosome, outer membrane, inner membrane. Now, when the membrane has become thin, what is possible is the fusion of membrane can occur. That means the acrosome membrane will fuse with which membrane? plasma membrane of the sperm. Whatever contents are there, they are going to get released because of capacitation. They are going to get released. Okay. So that was regarding a capacitated one. Now, as it approaches the ovum, the acrosome starts slowly releasing the contents. Now, what are the contents of acrosome? Next point, acrosome. Acrosome developed during spermiogenesis Golgi bodies. Now, acrosome consists of is, it consists of sperm license. It consists of sperm license. Consists of sperm license. Got? This sperm license are three types. Okay. One is called corona penetrating enzyme. One is called what? Corona penetrating enzyme. Another is hyaluronidase, for example, hyaluronidase. This is the second one. Okay. The third one is acrosome. The third one is acrosome. Now, these three chemicals are very essential for fertilization of ovum. Understand? It means that these sperms will help in fertilization. Okay, how is that? I'll tell. You know that this structure is corona radiata. Yesterday itself, I've explained. This one is zona pellucida. And this is perivitelline space. And this is the plasma membrane of the ovum, ulemma, also called ulemma. So what these do is, the sperm has to release its nucleus inside the ovum, proximal centriole inside the ovum. For that, it has two kind of barriers, you can tell. It has two membranes to be crossed. One cellular membrane is corona radiata, another non-cellular membrane is the zona pellucida. When these two membranes are crossed, then the sperm can fuse with the membrane of ovum to release its nucleus as well as proximal centriole. Understand? Now for that only, these three enzymes are essential. One enzyme is called corona penetrating enzyme. It will dissolve this corona radiata. This membrane, cellular membrane, it is able to dissolve. Now hyaluronidase, here what happens, two cells are attached to each other with the help of hyaluronic acid. Now, hyaluronidase will dissolve or disintegrate the hyaluronic acid. When hyaluronic acid will dissolve, means cell separation also will occur easily. Corona radiata cells can easily separate. Then the third is acrosome. So, acrosome is zona digesting enzyme. It is okay. Okay. So, acrosome's main function is it is able to dissolve or break this zona pellucida. Okay, so that is the function of these sperm license. Okay. So regarding further mechanisms, what all will happen after fertilization? That means once the sperm will approach, what reaction occurs? Then once the sperm will deliver its nucleus, proximal centriole inside the womb, then what happens? And then what happens to the meiosis two? What is cortical reaction? What is acrosome reaction? What is slow block, fast block? All these will be explained in the, I'll be going to explain you all in the next class to maintain the continuity. So till now, what you should know is these three things: sperm license, corona penetrating enzyme, as the name suggests, it dissolves corona. Hyaluronidase, as the name suggests, it will also disintegrate. It will break the hyaluronic acid chemical that joins the two cells here. And acrosome, its speciality is it will digest or dissolve the zona pellucida. So this so today's class will be up till here. That is only up till just the beginning of fertilization. So further, I'll be continuing in the next class regarding other steps in the fertilization.